Yes. Good morning to one and all. I request you all to please put your mobiles on silent mode before we start the event. A very good morning to one and all gathered here for the launch of the Muthuraman and Sumathi Visiting Chair in Urban Mining. I am Jennifer from the Office of Alumni and Corporate Relations. I request you all to please rise for the Tamil Thai Valthu, followed by our national song, Vande Mataram.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் வதனமென திகழ்பரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் மதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரிதனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம்பியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே 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 வந்தே மாதரம் வந்தே மாதரம் சுஜலாம் சுஃபலாம் மலயஜ ஷீதலாம் சஸ்யஷாமலாம் மாதரம் வந்தே மாதரம் शुभ्रज्योत्स्ना पुलकितयामिनी फुल्लकुसुमित द्रुमदलशोभिनी सुहासिनी सुमधुरभाषिनी सुखदां वरदां मातरं वन्दे मातरम् वन्दे मातरम्.
I would like to acknowledge the presence of our esteemed guests who are in our midst today. We have with us today Padma Bhushan awardee, former Vice Chairman of Tata Steel and Chairman of Tata International, Mr. Muthuraman, along with his wife, Mrs. Sumathi Muthuraman. We have with us Global CEO and Managing Director of Tata Steel, Mr. T.V. Narendran, along with his wife, Mrs. Ruchi Narendran. We are also delighted to have Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan awardee, former Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, Dr. Tirumalachari Ramaswamy. I request you all to please occupy your seats on the dais. I request Professor Mahesh and Professor Kama to please join them on the dais. I take this opportunity to invite Professor Mahesh Panchagnula, Dean, Alumni and Corporate Relations, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, everybody. Please come have a seat in the front. There are some empty chairs on the side here and in the front. It is wonderful to see such a large gathering, a packed gathering of friends and family here for this wonderful occasion of the launch of the Muthuraman and Sumathi chair in urban mining. Today is a particularly momentous day for us to be launching this chair. A happy Teachers' Day to all the teachers in each and every one of us. Each and every one of us is a teacher to our children, a teacher to a mentor to our friends, an advisor to colleagues, and we draw as well advice from several. So the teacher in every one of us should be remembered on this day. We're particularly honored to have such a privileged gathering with Sri Ramaswamy, Sri Muthuraman and Madam Sumathi, Sri Narendran, who's made the effort and the committed time to come and be part of this gathering on this very momentous day when we are launching this chair, this visiting chair in honor of Muthuraman and Sumathi. The launch of chairs like this presents us with an occasion to think of the research that this institution has been home to for the last 6+ decades. IIT Madras has made seminal contributions to several fields of work, and chair launches like this are events for us to recognize the fact that there is more to be done, such as in this area of urban mining that Sri Muthuraman was kind enough to bring to our knowledge, that this is an area that needs to be injected into the research portfolio of IIT Madras. And we are happy that he not only suggested the idea, but also committed to create a forum where this activity can take root at IIT Madras and grow in future times. We are grateful to Sri Muthuraman and Sumathi for making this commitment to create this somewhat new area of research. I welcome all of my colleagues from the Material Science and Metallurgical Engineering Department who will, I'm sure, in times to come, embrace this sapling and grow it into a tree. I want to also in particular welcome all our students who are here today in large numbers to be part of this chair launch of this very unique chair in urban mining, which I'm sure in times to come will create a large impact. Thank you all for coming, and I look forward to the day.
Thank you, Professor. I now invite Professor V. Kamakoti, Director, IIT Madras, to please address the gathering.
Friends and all respected invitees, a very hearty welcome to IIT Madras campus. Today is a Teachers' Day, and I'm very happy that this chair launch got rescheduled and is happening today. Thank you, Mr. Muthuraman sir, for graciously providing your financial support to the establishment of this chair. As an institute, we are really committed to the sustainability development goals. We are starting a school of sustainability. And one of the very important aspects of this is that waste to wealth creation, and urban mining actually forms a subset of this waste to wealth creation. We have taken many initiatives. One of the important target that we have set to ourselves as a campus is that within the next couple of years, not even 1 gram of waste should go out of IIT Madras. It should be within IIT Madras. We should process and keep it here. As an initial step, today, friends, we were consuming around 3.2 million liters per day of fresh water. We have now done 100% water recycling through just gravity. We are not using power for the recycling. We start with around 2 feet near Adyar Gate and go up to 27 feet near Taramani Gate, where we collect all the water, all the black water or grey water, and we recycle it. And I am very happy to tell you that 1.8 million liters per day we are now recycling. So we have reduced our freshwater consumption from 3.2 million liters per day to 1.4 million liters per day. And this is a 50%, more than 50% reduction. We are also continuously monitoring the supply of fresh water and detecting leaks, etc. So these are all some of the initiatives that we have done in the area of trying to make our campus very sustainable. And the current capacity that we have for the recycling is close to 4 million liters per day. And we believe that this can take our institute for the next 50 years. So these are some of the interesting things that we are starting. A lot of waste to wealth initiatives have happened. We had some demo with the Bharat Bell, Bharat Heavy Electricals in Trichy. We had created a complete waste to wealth segregator and then convert it to heat and then use that for multiple purposes. We are also trying to establish many more such waste to wealth initiative in the campus. We are also deeply investing on the biogas. We are having a lot of food waste and other things which we want to convert it into manure and also biogas. So urban waste, especially concrete today, one very interesting example that we see is the Adyar Punga, where I was told that more than several metric tons of concrete waste was dumped, and the complete restoration happened over 6 to 7 years. This is one live example in Chennai where the urban waste was mined, and I don't know how much wealth they generated from that, but certainly we have a very nice eco park now. So we want to take up large projects, and I'm sure this type of an initiative will lead us. Like for example, the Ghazipur mountain that we see near Delhi, some project of that caliber, right? Not some small ones, but we want to do a large project which can be a big demonstrator of how urban waste can be converted to wealth. At the same time, we can have a systematic process by which these waste can be processed, and also such type of accumulation doesn't happen. And these are very interesting open problems, and I'm sure many people, many students will start working on it. There is a lot more scope for even entrepreneurship. We also are very happy that the PET bottles are actually converted to shirts, jackets. The Honorable Prime Minister also wore it in the Parliament, and that's also an initiative that came out of IIT Madras collaboration. So many things are in the offing, and as a country, we have very big commitment to the sustainability, and I'm sure this type of initiatives, specifically this chair, will encourage young faculty and also established organizations, the first recipient or first occupants of this chair, to basically forge more collaboration with us and start working on problems of national importance, and we would like to see a completely waste-free and completely well-generating urban India. And let that be a good first step in that direction, what IIT Madras is taking today on this very auspicious Teachers' Day. Thank you again for all of you who have gathered in large numbers, and wishing you, all the teachers here, a very happy Teachers' Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now invite Professor Ravi Kumar, Head of the Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering, to say a few words and read the citation on the first occupant of the Muthuraman and Sumathi chair.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Teachers' Day to all of you. Before I introduce the first occupant of this chair, I would like to take this opportunity to thank a few people in making this happen. I would like to first thank Sri Muthuraman for his generous contribution towards the establishment of this chair. I still remember we had several rounds of discussion before we arrived at deciding the area, and I was very clear from the discussions that he was very insistent that we have to establish a chair in an area of national importance, and it should have a deep societal impact. And thank you so much for coming forward to establish this. And I also would like to thank Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya. I think he was part of many of our discussions, and thanks a lot for helping us to fine-tune this area. During this several course of discussion, Ms. Sujata from ACR office was always there with us, organizing meetings. I should thank you and Professor Mahesh for your office support in making this happen. Thanks a lot, because it took a lot of time, and thank you so much. I also would like to thank the entire institute and my own department colleagues for the great support. I now would like to read the citation for Dr. Ratish. Dr. R. Ratish is a highly accomplished scientist with a remarkable career, spanning over 26 years at the Center for Materials for Electronics Technology, Microwave Materials Division. He is currently the director at CMET Hyderabad Laboratory and the chief investigator of Center of Excellence on E-Waste Management. His expertise extends to e-waste management, microwave ceramics, composites, antennas for NAVIC and GPS, laser Raman spectroscopy, and structure property correlations. He has more than 10 patents and over 100 publications in international journals. He has transferred 3 technologies to private industries for commercial production. Dr. Ratish did his PhD from Kerala University and was a recipient of many postdoctoral fellowships, including the Alexander von Humboldt Fellowship at Germany. So thank you once again, and very happy Teachers' Day.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us put our hands together and invite the man of the hour, Dr. Ratish, to give his acceptance speech.
Respected Director of IIT Madras, Professor Kamakodi, Padma Bhushan Muthuraman sir and Sumathi ma'am, and Padma Bhushan Ramaswamy sir, CEO of Tata Steel, Mr. Narendra, and ICR Dean, and to Dr. Ravi, and Debashish Bhattacharya sir. Very, very good morning to all, and a very happy Teachers' Day. So all of you are, I'm highly elated to stand in front of you to accept the first visiting chair. As you know that Ministry of Mines has identified 30 critical minerals in June 2023. So I'm very happy to tell you that being a national lab, we work on 12 critical materials, extraction of 12 critical materials out of these 30. I was prudently going through the 30 critical minerals identified by Ministry of Mines, and the rationale in which they have arrived at it is through 2 yardsticks. One is its economic importance, and second one is on the supply risk. So to be candid, it is almost similar to the 33 critical elements identified by European Union. They have only removed magnesium, manganese, and boron from there. So we were also trying to see for the past 2 decades how we can arrive at self-sustainability in critical materials. I'll just cite an example. the total strength of cement Hyderabad is 38 numbers, and we produce the entire hafnium required for the country. You know that hafnium is a critical mineral which is identified under these 30 materials. So we require 80 manpower to run the show from, 24/7. So I started calling this as a Fraunhofer model. As a Humboldt fellow, I got an opportunity to visit most of this Fraunhofer Institute. I inculcated that idea. Now, for the past 7 years, we are supplying the entire hafnium required for the country. All neobet alloy is made using the hafnium produced. It is from waste. A waste, zirconium raffinate, a waste product, an effluent, which is coming from the nuclear fuel complex, which is just 4 kilometers away from there. We collect all this raffinate. It contains only 2 to 4 GPL of hafnium. Through solvent extraction, we are able to recover it. We produce 98.5% of hafnium. Further, it will be EB melted and it goes for neobet alloy. Over a period of time, hafnium is started using in all semiconductor materials. As the node size comes down, quantum tunneling happens, and you have to get rid of silicon SiO2. So there is a large demand. 32% of hafnium as on date is used for hafnium oxide gate oxide. We started purifying hafnium oxide to 3N, and now we are ready with our ministry is starting National Semiconductor Mission. We have all set to provide 3N purity hafnium to the country. This is just an example to cite that how we serve the nation through critical materials. So taking it forward, I was not a man who was working on, circular economy. In fact, I was following linear economy, like take, make, and dispose of policy. Because, after my postdoc and all, the first project which I got from ISRO was on a product called RT-Duroid. Immediately after the Pokhran blast, there was a severe embargo on a product called RT-Duroid. This is basically used for all communication application. It's a printed circuit board, which is a copper-clad printed circuit board, which is available from only one country in the world, which is called Rogers Corporation. It is exorbitantly expensive. 1 square feet of this printed circuit board costs you $280. This is the first assignment given to me by my ministry. It took almost 10 years to develop this product. And, today we have transferred this product to a private industry, and it is commercialized. We are able to produce it with 1/5 of that cost. So what I want to tell you is that now, then the next opportunity was to make Navik antennas. Now, you know that Kargil war, GPS is not extended to us by US Navy. So we had a lot of trouble. We have already launched 9 satellites, and we have already developed all Navik antennas, basically dual band and triple band antennas using the same substrate. So the requirement of such kind of products in the country is almost 70 million pieces. So I become one of the big, source of for this e-waste production in the country, generation in the country. So another thing what we have done is that, in Indus 2, the entire support for developing this product was given by Department of Atomic Energy. We had almost 13 projects funded by Department of Atomic Energy to develop this. We have now changed, the Crystron oscillator in Indus 2 with this printed circuit board. So we generate a lot of products. We have tie-up with NASA for deep space communication, and we are also involved in many other products. And another development which we have done in the second phase is on a product called BMT resonators. This is using for space communication applications, and INSAT 13 onwards, 1,000 numbers of these BMT resonators are used in satellite. Why I'm telling all this? Because in the fag end of the second decade of my research, I got a PSN National Technology Award, which was given by then DST Secretary Ramaswamy sir. I don't know whether he remember that. So it is quite coincidence that at this occasion also the august presence of Dr. Ramaswamy sir is here. So then I moved to CMED Hyderabad, and the first assignment given me to, so far I was, I was doing Srishti of PCBs, and I have been asked to do the other way around, so I have been asked to set up a center of excellence on e-waste management, which encompasses all kinds of electronic waste. For example, if you open a laptop, you have PCB, you have lithium-ion battery, you have permanent magnet, you have LCD display. How to address the engineering plastic? We have been asked to work on that. But the problem is, government will not give the 100% funding. It is a PPP model. Okay, so 40% of money comes from the central government, 40% from state government, and 20% we need to generate from an industry. None of the scientists were ready to take it up because this amounts to 7.16 crores, and getting hard currency from an industry is a Herculean task. So I've left out with no other choice if I'm standing in front of you today, because I have shouldered that responsibility on my shoulder, and we established country's first center of excellence on e-waste management. Currently, we have PCB with 1 ton per day PCB recycling technology. We offer a turnkey solution. Over a period of time, we realized that not only the technology, the equipment required for this e-waste recycling is also very important. We developed a top-load rotary furnace. We started introducing automated depopulation systems and things like that, and we offer a turnkey solution for that. But the most important aspect of this circular economy is not on PCB, because PCB is always goes to informal sector, because it's very easy to take out the peripheral gold from PCB, because it is the lithium-ion battery. We have 129 gigawatt hour of end-of-life lithium-ion battery available with us, and the black mass, which can be taken from that is 3,600 lakh tons of black mass. If you look at China, China produces more cobalt from secondary resources than primary resources. This has become a very good opportunity for us. We have developed a process. We have developed 2 processes on hydrometallurgy, and another one is pyrometallurgy. This hydrometallurgy technology, we are able to take out lithium, cobalt, manganese, and nickel up to 99%+ purity, which is a battery grade material. And we have already patented these 2 processes, and it's scalable up to 1 ton. The outcome was very, very good. Already we have transferred the technology to 18 industries. We have arranged a function in Nitya Chief Executive Officer's office, wherein we have single day, one technology is gone to 18 industries. And we can now support minimum 1,000 industries because we have that much resource available in the country. This is the kind of opportunities which is lingering around circular economy in the country. And we have 5 different verticals in this particular center of excellence. We have PCB recycling, we have lithium-ion battery recycling, we have permanent magnet recycling, which is very, very important because we totally depend on permanent magnet import from China. And this is one of the reasons, because of the non-availability of neodymium oxide, high purity neodymium oxide. Though we have monazite, it is very lean. If you want to get 100 kilograms of neodymium oxide, you have to process minimum 10,000 kilograms of monazite. Whereas you are able to get 400 kilograms of permanent magnet itself, 100 kilograms of neodymium oxide. So we started recovering neodymium oxide from permanent magnet. There is a very good circular economy model which is available in Europe, which is called a sustainable magnetic program. This Europe is not going to get even a single gram of neodymium oxide or rare earth oxide from China. They are going to recover everything from permanent magnet. This is another ecosystem which we have created, and we are going to make a permanent magnet in the country. Maybe within 2 years, we should be able to source the entire hafnium record for the country. NDFEB magnet in the country. The 4th vertical is much more important. This was not there in the e-waste schedule 1. It is on PCB solar cell recycling. So now with the e-waste management law 2022, they have introduced solar cells also. Fortunately, one of the well-known companies, 3rd largest renewable energy manufacturers in the country called Greenco, they roped in and they invested 7.2 crores in our center of excellence. So currently, Greenco is our industry collaborator because they have almost 10,000 acres of solar installation in Kurnool itself. So we are going to set up a plant like this. This is the kind of opportunities which this offers. And the 5th vertical, what we are doing is nurturing of startups. When you talk about center of excellence, there should be excellence attached to that. I am very happy to tell you that one of the boys who has done graduation and post-graduation from Indian Institute of Science joined at our center of excellence, and he came with his own idea. You know that your mobile phone display contains a lot of liquid crystals and indium. So if it falls and it goes bad, the person who sells it gets only 30 rupees, whereas it contains a lot of resources. So far, it was considered as a hazardous waste. And this gentleman has developed a technology to recover the liquid crystal from this and indium from that, and he's starting his own industry at Hyderabad. So, and we started a first MTech program together with IIT Hyderabad. This is e-waste resource management and engineering, and past 4 years I am also teaching in this. These are some of the bright spots which we have done over a period of time, past 4 years in circular economy. So coming back to that, like the next question arises is that what is that I'm going to do here? Like, you know that but almost 1 month back, China has put a ban on germanium and gallium. So we need to look at how best we are able to recover, these critical elements, because if you want a, this semiconductor ecosystem in the country, you require gallium and germanium also. We also purify. Another very important aspect which I want to share with you is that the core thrust area of the laboratory in which I work is on purification of metals. We purify all metals up to 7N. So, what I'm going to do is I've coined a program called RIG. You know that in oil field, we do rigging. So rig means my job at IIT will be recovery of indium and germanium. That's why I call this as rig. I am going to work on indium recovery and gallium recovery, and it will be further purified at CMET so that there will be good resonance between the two institutes. There is no conflict of interest. And before I conclude, so very recently got an opportunity to review National Materials Policy. It's a confidential document, and it came from PSA's office. And one of the strong recommendation which is given in this is that to introduce chairs, professor chairs in all institutes. I think IIT Madras is thinking ahead of time. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Bye.
Thank you, sir. I now request our Director, Professor Kamakoti, and Dean ACR, Professor Mahesh, to felicitate Dr. Atish. I now request Mr. Kaviraj Nair, CEO, Office of Institutional Advancement, to introduce our guest, Mr. T.V. Narendran.
Before I introduce, I must say that as someone who joined Tata Administrative Service in 2002 as a management trainee, used to look up to visionary leaders like Mr. Muthuraman and Mr. Narendran and all of them with a lot of admiration and, in fact, almost overawed by their stupendous accomplishments all the time, right? So it's a great opportunity for me to introduce Mr. Narendran today. Mr. Narendran joined Tata Steel in 1988, straight after his MBA from IIM Calcutta. He worked in the International Trading Division of Tata Steel from 1988 to 1997, wherein he spent 5 years in Dubai, looking after Tata Steel's exports to the Middle East. From 1997 to 2001, he spent time in Tata Steel's marketing and sales division and was involved in market development for the cold rolling mill project, supply chain management, sales planning, etc. From 2001 to 2003, he was the chief of marketing and sales long products and played a key role in building the Tata Tiscon brand and the distribution network for the same. From 2003 to 5, he worked with Mr. B. Muthuraman, the then managing director of Tata Steel, as his principal executive officer, and subsequently he led the Nat Steel in Singapore. Before being appointed as managing director Tata Steel India and Southeast Asia in 2013, Mr. Narendran was a vice president, safety and flat products division of Tata Steel. He has been the global CEO and managing director of Tata Steel since 2017. And he was also the past president of, national level president of CII for the year of 2021 to 22. He is currently on the boards of Tata Steel Limited, Tata Steel Europe, CDUP, XLRI, and World Steel Association. And he has also been the chairman, governing board of directors of IIT Kharagpur. Thank you, sir, and we look forward to listening to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Kaviraj. Mr. Muthuraman, Mrs. Sumathi Muthuraman, Professor Kamakoti, Dr. Ramasamy, Professor Mahesh, all the other distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen. Great privilege for me to be here for two reasons. One is, of course, I think it's a very important subject that we're talking about today. And for me personally, more importantly, I'm here with Mr. Muthuraman, who has served Tata Steel with great distinction and led Tata Steel with great distinction. And as you heard from my introduction, I've also had the privilege of working very closely with him. And I think if I were to, amongst the many imprints he left on Tata Steel, the one imprint he left was to really encourage us to think about the future, think about areas we had not thought about, go beyond Jamshedpur. And I think that, to me, is his greatest legacy to Tata Steel. And in some sense, what is being planned today and what is being set up today is also a reflection of that forward thinking, planning for the future, planning on a subject which is going to be very relevant for the future. Dr. Ritesh talked about linearity and circularity, and I think you'll hear more and more of this in the decades ahead, because as the world adapts to climate change, at least recognizes that there is a problem and sets goals to address the problem, I think the transformation of many industries from a linear value chain to a circular value chain is inevitable. And I think even for somebody like us in the steel industry, that's a transformation that we are planning for, and Tata Steel is also investing significantly in recycling. For more than 100 years, we made steel using iron ore and coal, but going forward, we think recycling is going to be a very, very important part of our future. In fact, the prediction is that by 2050, the recycling industry in the world will be bigger than the mining industry in the world, and for good reasons. So when you look at circularity as a concept, recycling is only one part of it. You know, when you look at circularity as a concept, you need to really think about how do you design your products and solutions. How do you design for its longevity to start with? That means multiple things, right? How do you design for its repair? How do you design for its reuse? Then you will come to the recycling part of it. So it calls for a very different way of thinking right from the beginning. And that's why I think academic institutes, scientific institutions, industry, all need to work together. Even if I look at our own example of building a steel plant, in Kalinganagar, a plant which was started during Mr. Muthuraman's time. The first phase of expansion, we used a lot of welded structurals. Second phase of expansion, we're using a lot of bolted structurals. That itself is a mindset change and brings a very different way of thinking about how do you build buildings. So I think this concept of circularity is really going to embed itself into the way we think about how we do multiple things that we do without thinking so hard about the source of raw materials. The other important thing is, of course, resource efficiency is going to help us achieve more development with less inputs. Now, within circularity, there are two types. One is, like I said, we recycle steel because that's the right thing to do. The carbon footprint when you make steel through recycling is 20% of the carbon footprint that when you make steel using iron ore and coal. So there's a natural reason to use recycling. And if you use green energy, you can pretty much make zero carbon steel. But when you look at recycling in the context of critical minerals like Dr. Ritesh talked about, it's more a strategic issue because India does not have a lot of the inputs that are required for creating the future that it wants to create. And we are not geologically endowed with those resources. And hence there is a need to really look at how is it that we can get some of those resources through recycling. And it's important because India is going to be a very big consuming market. So a lot of products that we consume, which may be made in India, may not be made in India, may be made using inputs which have not come from India. How do we make sure that when we recycle those products, we extract those critical minerals rather than let it go waste? How do you create value from waste? I think we heard that phrase multiple times today. And urban mining as a concept is all about that. Traditional mining is more about a geological kind of mindset, going to places which is rich in minerals. But urban mining is about doing mining in urban centers, which is rich in a lot of critical minerals because of the consumption which happens in urban centers. So it's a very important subject. When I started steel, we started looking at it. We learned a lot. And there are, again, multiple reasons why it's important. One is it's very technology intensive. There was a reference made to PCBs and how it is today dismantled today manually. But it is done in very, very bad working conditions. A lot of child labor is used. A lot of work is done where people are exposed and they have no choice, but they get exposed, right? So there is a need, in some sense, to formalize the sector. There is a need to make sure that the people who are involved in the sector are safe and their health is not impacted by the work that they do. There is a need to make it more technology intensive. One of the biggest centers for recycling, I did not realize till we got into the subject, is in Belgium. You know, it's counterintuitive. It's a high-cost geography, but it's so technologically intensive. A lot of material comes from all over the world, and they use a lot of technology to extract the critical minerals out of it, right? So I think it's a very technology-intensive area, very important area for India for the future, for strategic purposes, as well as for resource efficiency purposes. So I'm really glad that we're setting up this chair here. I'm really thankful to Mr. Muthuraman and Mrs. Muthuraman and IIT Madras for really coming together for doing something which is so important for the future. As Tata Steel, we are always happy to be of any help. It's an area which is of interest to us. We are also planning to set up a pilot plant on recycling of critical minerals. So we also work with Dr. Atish and his team. So I think we're really looking forward to this chair and the work that the team here will do. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request Professor Kamakoti, Professor Mahesh, and Mr. Kaviraj to please felicitate Mr. T.V. Narendran. Up next, we will have Dr. Ramasamy address the gathering. I would like to introduce Dr. Tirumalachami Ramaswamy, former Secretary to the Government of India in the Department of Science and Technology, is a technologist turned scientist and a scientist turned civil servant. He has published more than 250 scientific papers, filed over 50 patents, and developed 12 process know-hows. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 2001 and Padma Bhushan in 2014. I invite Dr. Ramasamy to please address the gathering.
Very good morning, Srimati and Sri Muthuraman, Mr. Narendran, Professor Kamakoti, Professor Mahesh, Ravi Kumar, the hero of the day, Mr. Atish, the batch of 66 assembled here in good number, teachers in the house, students. I join everybody in wishing you, all of you, happy Teachers' Day. You see, Tata Steel seem to be developing leaders in their own space. And the leadership is an art of persuasion. I was not willing to come here and speak. But you know, Mr. Raman, he ensured that I not only came here, but also spoke. And he would, yesterday I had 11 missed calls from him. Because I was in a meeting like this and put on, like their advice, put it on, silent mode. I forgot to switch it on. So I was telling to somebody has to remind me when I go back from here. And I am going to thank him for what he has done, not just congratulate. In fact, the first person holding the chair reminded me that I had a role in government some time back, and he got an award. But when we do this, we never know what we have done is right or wrong. But today, by Dr. Muthuraman IIT, have confirmed that what we did at that time was right. I thank him for this. It turns out that this occasion is very special. It's special for people who had remained the ex-N Ramata government all along. In our life, when I was Secretary DST, I used to, many of these guys used to treat me as the ATM of Indian science. So they took money and thanked the DST, and then they wanted to do whatever they wanted to do. What comes out of it was not known to DST. And it's a nursery. Nursery keeper doesn't know what comes out of what we. invest. Public funding in most of those research environment gets converted into papers, some awards, recognitions, and so on. But they don't add value to the society which funded them. When the private sector gets into the act, they ensure that something comes out of that investment. For many years, sitting in the opposite side, in fact, I was an opposite door neighbor of IIT, I was a director of CLR in the past. For 25 plus years, I've been crying from rooftop, get chair positions organized in these institutions and make those chair positions actually work on problems which the solutions are required for. Because most of us as scientists are solving problems that nobody wants solutions for. But here, the problem is focused and solution is wanted. And I believe they have chosen a very special occasion here, Teachers' Day. I believe teacher, by our process itself, are engaged in the nourishing of the root. Unless you nourish the root, you can't bear fruit. So they have fundamentally looked at this particular act of urban mining, because conventional mining itself is a different problem. Because we mine what we want and throw away what we don't want, and the overburden of what we throw away is 3 times of what we are getting. But fortunately, they happen in remote places because land areas are required very large. And urban issues are very different. Everything comes eventually to urban centers in the form of products we use. And there is a lifetime for every product we use. And after that lifetime is over, I think the modern civilization is built on use and throw. And urban centers, the throw is more than the use. Therefore, there is a responsibility of the users to ensure that what we throw do not affect the rest of the processes. It turns out, people keep telling, oh, India is a developing country, other people are developed before. We are very fortunate we are developing later part of life. Because those nations which developed earlier used technologies which led to this climate change and many other consequences with a very heavy carbon footprint. I would like this chair position not just limit to circular economy. The resource economy of our classical mining is very well known. So only the economic reason cannot be the basis on which we are doing this urban mining. We have to look at the energy investments and the kind of carbon footprint that is associated with most of the technologies that are adopted today in the world itself, even the so-called very industrialized countries, has left with a huge carbon footprint. Okay? The per capita carbon footprint of well-developed nations are horrendously high. And we are one of the largest economies in the world with still 1/3 of the per capita emission. We are 1.9 against 4.6. Therefore, while we plan our development process, I think we should be conscious that we don't limit ourselves to only the urban mining part, but look at the manners in which that energy and the emissions associated with it as well. There is, of course, economic reasons really drive industrial enterprises. We understand this because we recover very valuable products from these. See, we talk about solar energy. You go back and look at the environmental footprint of so-called renewable energy, you will ask a very different sets of questions. What we throw out later. Therefore, we have to create a culture of not just recovering waste material, but a culture of ensuring that the question of sustainability is pure thermodynamics. Ensure that we get what we want and do not disturb the process. And I believe this, he has given me a commercial break for DST. Talked about what? When IIT Madras turned 50, because of Indo-German collaboration, under Indo-German collaboration, we set up a Indo-German Sustainability Center here. The Department of Science supported it at that point of time. The idea at that time was to go beyond even the mining part. Go into the entire sustainability science associated with it. And it's one of the probably the earliest centers in this country to create this Indo-German Center for Sustainability here as a part of the 50th celebration, because Germans think that IIT Madras is theirs, and they really sense of ownership for them. And I'm very happy that this chair position that being launched is conveying a very strong message and a culture, a cultural setting that in which the academic environment doesn't end up only celebrating science celebrated by other scientists. Most of the science done in science establishments is focused on scientific by other people. I remember, I'll finish with a statement. When I got Padma Shri, one of my friends called and said, "What is this, you got Padma Shri?" I said, "What are you upset about?" He said, "No, Lata Mangeshkar got Bharat Ratna." Arey, you don't understand this. I got my Padma Shri for something doing on chromium. There are 5 fellows in the world doing sending life on chromium. Brilliant fellows. Every time they looked at my paper, they got depressed. Why we didn't think along that line? So I made brilliant people get depressed. Billions of depressed people listen to Saltang-based music, they get elevated. She deserves Bharat Ratna. Therefore, the science that we are discussing today in urban mining is not for science for the sake of knowledge alone, for avoiding the problems that urban living is associated with world over. And I believe it should start here. Madras is Chennai, I use the word Madras, an old man, no? We introduced water recovery process as a city, 100% recovery long ago. This city, 25 years back, took the domestic sewage, processed water for industry, CPCL, 60 million liters. The Leather Institute brought zero liquid discharge long time back. So there is a certain culture in the city to take this not as a celebration, but as an act of responsibility. So let me say this urban mining for you, Dr. Ratish, is a responsibility. Congratulate you. Thank you very much.
I request Professor Kama, Professor Mahesh, and Mr. Kaviraj to felicitate. I will now introduce Mr. Balasubramanian Muthuraman. Mr. Muthuraman is an alumnus from the batch of 1966 from IIT Madras. He was the former vice chairman of Tata Steel and also the chairman of the Board of Governors of IIT Kharagpur, NIT Jamshedpur, and XLRI Jamshedpur. He was conferred with the Padma Bhushan in 2012. He has instituted this chair along with his wife, Mrs. Sumathi Muthuraman, to recognize the work being carried out by professionals in the field of urban mining. We welcome you, sir, to please address the gathering.
Professor Kamakoti, Dr. Ramasamy, Mr. Narendran, my classmates of 1966 batch of IIT Madras, distinguished guests, and my dear students. At the core of this visiting chair and as its solid foundation, there are two very great institutions. One is, of course, IIT Madras, which gave me the real education, not only in its functional dimension, but also in its contextual dimension and the dimension of attitude and character development. On this Teachers' Day, I remember many of my teachers from IIT Madras Professor Vibhuti Bhushan Sengupta, the first director of the institute, Mr. R. Natarajan, the first registrar of the institute, and several others. And if I were to mention one name, that would be that of Professor E.G. Ramachandran, head of the Department of Metallurgy and my own professor. He had a profound influence on me and many others, on our thinking, on our actions. So Professor Kamakoti, Director of IIT Madras, I would like to sincerely thank you for being personally present here to launch this chair. The second great institution is Tata Steel and the Tata Group, where I had the privilege of working for nearly half a century. This group represents the real purpose of industrial corporations, of being one with the society and keeping as its central theme and purpose improving the quality of life of people. The Tata Group gave me the opportunity to translate my education into useful results, not only for the company and for myself, but also in my own small way to the society at large. Mr. Narendran, the Managing Director and CEO of Tata Steel, your presence here is a wonderful gesture on your part and is a demonstration of your continued support for this project. I must also thank Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya, Vice President Technology and New Product Development of Tata Steel, who is here, who was very much part of the evolution of this visiting chair, and who incidentally was really the person who suggested this project, the name of the project to be the chair. In fact, the suggestion did not come from me, and I had only very vague idea what this subject is about, till Dr. Bhattacharya educated me on the subject. The reason for the choice of the subject as urban mining is obvious and has been dealt with by several experts even today. The world is on an unsustainable path due to the way we have lived in the last couple of 100 years, the way we have mined, the way we have generated power, the way we have transported ourselves, the way we have indulged ourselves in conspicuous consumption. In short, the way by which we have been chasing our comforts regardless of its consequences. We have put our own world in the danger of existence. We need to correct and change our path. Materials, as all of us know, are fundamental to the progress of any civilization, and attempts to change the way we mine for extracting materials is a significant step towards course correction. This is the background for the choice of urban mining as the subject for this chair. To be successful and to have speed in this process, we need new technologies for development. When I talk of technology, I always remember Dr. Ramaswamy, whom I have known for a long time, former Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. Thank you, sir, for being with us today. There is, of course, a fourth force of considerable influence on me that was behind setting up this chair, who is here today. My wife, Sumathi. She always encouraged me to do the right things. And for the first time, I think, ever, I had full marks from her for this instituting this chair. First time, 100 out of 100. Professor Ravi Kumar and Dr. Debashish Bhattacharya defined the scope of the project and chose Dr. Ratish as the chair professor, and I want to thank them. So this is the story and background of this chair. Thank you all for being present here. I am particularly happy to see so many students to whom I want to suggest seriously that while choosing your careers and choosing your companies that you work for, look at issues of national importance, such as this subject and aerospace and other subjects of this, rather than choosing the somewhat unchallenging profession of becoming simple software engine programmers. Thank you very much.
I request Professor Kamakoti, Professor Mahesh and Mr. Kaviraj to felicitate Mr. Muthuraman and Mrs. Sumathi Muthuraman. I request Mrs. Sujata, Vice President, Office of Institutional Advancement, to propose the vote of thanks.
Good morning, everyone. It is indeed my pleasure and privilege to propose the vote of thanks for this wonderful ceremony today. I'd like to start by thanking Mr. Muthuraman and Mrs. Sumathi Muthuraman for their generosity and for coming here and taking part in this extremely important function. I thank the IIT Madras Director, Dr. Kamakoti, and the Dean of Alumni and Corporate Relations, Dr. Mahesh, for being here. I would like to thank Professor Ravi Kumar and Dr. Ratish for their presence. I would like to thank the 1966 batch for coming in such strength. It is wonderful to see so many of Mr. Muthuraman's batchmates here. And I would like to thank the IITM Alumni Charitable Trust for their support and their encouragement as always. And last but not the least, I would like to thank our team in Alumni and Corporate Relations for carrying out this function so well. Thank you, everyone. We will be serving lunch in the annex after the program. We'd also like to request the batch of 1966 to gather for a group photograph at some time at your convenience after the program. I'd like to request everyone to stand up for the national anthem, please.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे